we are very proud to have Francesco Marconi today with us. He's going to talk at the 48forward conference about how to break the media. And one of his topics is virtual reality. Welcome, Francesco Marconi.
Thank you very much.
And the thing that you try to make popular is virtual reality, I think.
Yes.
Are you already using it yourself in private life?
Yes, I am actually. I already used it for my wedding. So I got married this past summer, and we had a photographer, and we also had a person shooting virtual reality. And so the idea is that once we look back at the day, you can actually visit the space as if you were there. So you can relive it. And so this same concept can be applied to other forms of media, specifically journalism, which is what I focus on.
But what kind of hardware do your visitors need to view the wedding video? And congratulations, by the way.
Thank you very much. So, so we used a camera, a very low-cost camera compared to the expensive ones. Which is a Ricoh Theta, which is a camera that costs about $400. And you can shoot the virtual reality or the 360 video. And the easiest way for people right now to watch it is through either Facebook 360 or YouTube 360. And so I'm sure that most of us have seen you know, the 360 video on our news feed, and essentially you can just drag the mouse around and see what's in the image. The reality is that not a lot of people have the headsets to watch virtual reality, but in the future I suspect that a lot of people will have those.
When will they be available? What do you think, when will be the point where everyone has a virtual reality headset?
I don't know, maybe 10 years from now. Okay. I think right now we are still in the very early stages. One thing that I like to think about is almost like when smartphones first appeared, there was an inflection point, which was when the iPhone was introduced in 2007 or 2008. So that turning point for virtual reality hasn't really happened yet. Another way of thinking about it is that when cell phones first appeared, you had those big phones that look like bricks, and it's what virtual reality headsets look right now. So, you know, going forward 10, 15 years, you'll be able to watch virtual reality in something that looks like sunglasses, I would assume.
But let's say, I mean, we are the internet innovators. Let's say we want to be super innovative and shoot our interview in 360 video. Would that be a good idea?
We would have to think about how to design the space. And you know, most of the spaces that we interact with right now are designed for 2D media creation. And I can give you a few examples. So let's say you go to a conference. You have the speaker in front of you, and you have the audience behind you. And what's the, you know, if you are shooting that experience in virtual reality, what's the value, right? Are you really going to look back to look at the other people sitting, right? And so the idea is that when you are designing virtual reality, you have to think about how people are going to interact with the content. And so one way to develop those virtual reality experiences is to ask a very simple question. Will you turn your head around? And if the answer is yes, then it makes sense.
Do you have a suggestion for the conference experience?
Yeah, so what a lot of people are experimenting is with a circular setup where you put the camera in the middle, and then there's essentially different people are sharing their perspectives. And so as the virtual reality viewer, you can look around and see how different people are reacting to whatever you say. So for example, for this specific conference or for this specific interview, if we had more people around this table, we would put the virtual reality camera here, and each one of us would share something meaningful for the conversation. And the viewer would then be the one that decides who to focus their attention on.
You already did some great examples on how to use virtual reality. One of it is Suit Life, where you experience luxury travel habits. Can you tell us a bit about it?
Yes, so there was a project developed by the Associated Press interactive team, which is the team that looks at how to use new technologies and new tools to report stories. In one technology that the team came across was cameras that use infrareds to scan the space. And what that does is that you are able to replicate a physical space in a virtual reality. And that specific project, Sweet Life, meant to take viewers into really high-end places like the Moss Hotel suite in New York, which costs about $50,000 a night, and you have to stay there for 3 nights. So most of us can't afford that. So the idea is to tell you about the luxury travel industry through an example, and so you can actually walk around and see how it would be to spend some time there.
So where can our viewers see it? The $50,000 hotel room.
So they can see it either online if they go to just search Sweet Life Associated Press, and also in the Oculus headset. The experiences are different. You can either watch it on your computer in 2D, or you can also use a virtual reality headset and actually be there and walk around the room and feel like you were spending $50,000 a night too.
So if you use these headsets though, you are like really in the world. Do you think it is gonna change society a little bit because you're on your own on the couch, so to say, if you wear the headset?
Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of relationships, human relationships, will be developed through virtual reality, and you see already some examples of either games being developed for virtual reality where you can, let's say, play a ping pong game with a friend that is living in China and you are in Germany, or you can even communicate with people who are across the world. So it will both strengthen relationships, but the same way that we have seen with social networks where some human connections are strictly virtual, that there will be also problems to consider there. So how do you balance your virtual life with your real life?
Maybe last question, what are your 5 tips for a great 360 video? 5
tips. I'm not sure if I'll come up with 5, but I think one of the most important things, as I was mentioning before, is to really design the experience and ask yourself the question, will I turn my head around? If the answer is yes, then go ahead and do it in virtual reality. And then the second thing that is also very important is experimentation. And so shooting in virtual reality is very different than shooting with a video camera or even with a photo camera. And so I would say that you'll have to experiment a lot, have a lot of bad ideas until you come up with a great idea. And lastly, cameras are becoming cheaper and cheaper, so I think a lot of people will have access to this technology and start developing content. So, perfect. Thank you very much for your tips. Thanks for the interview. It was really a pleasure to talk to you. Danke. And good luck for your talk later. Bis bald bei den Innovators.